So we had seen yesterday, I think, that you can have situations when you can have strains without stress and stress without strain. All right. So we have seen situation when we can have one effect is temperature. Because of rise in temperature of the body, you can have a situation if the body is unconstrained, if there are no constraints, no boundary conditions, you are not restricting the movement of the body, then body will simply expand or contract freely, and then you will not have a strain. I'm sorry, you will not have a stress. But then if you constrain it, and I gave you an example yesterday, I think, did we complete that problem? Okay. So that should be done. So I took a simple example yesterday that, well, you have a problem where the rod is, so I said, okay, let us draw a simple rod which is fixed at the both ends, the length is L naught, and this rod is having some cross section. Cross section can be circular, it can be triangular, it can be rectangular, it can be I section, it can be T. See, these are various types of cross sections. There is no restriction. It is not that you will not be able to solve a problem if the cross section changes. Okay, so the cross section is something like this, and then the temperature rises by, originally it was T naught. At room temperature, when you fixed it without stress, T naught, no stress. Just fit. We also call it just fit condition. That means you take a rod, fix it without, something is called force fit. Sometimes, you try to force a body to fit. So if the distance between this is, less than this, and you try to and then force it, then what will happen? Some stress will be generated. I am saying it is just fit. So the rod is just fit, there is no stress created, and then the temperature rises by delta T, so it becomes T naught plus delta T. Coefficient of thermal expansion is alpha, and so what is this? So I told you that first you make this problem can be thought of as two problems. One is simple problem. One is simple, which is, by the way, what is the free body diagram of this body? I think that I had drawn yesterday. The free body diagram, that means if you cut it from the ends, so this is, so this, when you do this, so it could be like this. Of course, this is not the right one. This rod will, if you raise the temperature, this will not, because this shows that X and X, they form a tensile force in the member. Actually, it will be compressive. But what I am saying, even if you don't know the nature of the force, this will be the nature of, this will be the force. After you solve the problem, the right direction will come. X will come out to be negative X. That is true. But actually, it will be a rod. So this rod will be under compression, under here. So this is a free body diagram of the rod. What is the free body diagram of the support? Nobody asks you to draw free body diagram of the support. I am asking you, what is the free body diagram of the support? This support, if it is C here, then it will be, then here, if it is C there, then this will be C. So this one is free body diagram of the right support, this is the free body diagram of the left support, and this is the free body diagram of the rod at such of length L naught. How many unknowns are there in this problem? 1, yes, 1, and then but 1, yes, okay, 1, C. How to get C? How will you get C? We know that if you make this rod free, that means I make this rod free, one end I remove it, then allow it to expand, under delta T it will expand like this, and this rod will come up to here, and this will be alpha, how much? Alpha delta T into L naught. Is it okay? This will be the change in length of this rod, will be this, from here to here it will move if you remove the support, but that is not the problem. Then what you do, then I will say okay, let this be there, and now I apply a load C such that I apply a load C such that C produces a displacement equal to alpha delta T L. So that means apply in such a way that C produces this much. Then this rod will come back to its original position, and then you will be solving this original problem. So now the reason is you can visualize this as freely expanded, then you are applying C in such a way that C has brought this from here to here, and this is alpha naught. And this distance is alpha delta T L naught. So find out the value of C which produces a displacement of this much, that means displacement you know. So that will be the value of C, but then how to find out displacement because of C? So this is where we had stopped yesterday, how to find out now axial deformation. So this is called axial deformation, that means displacement due to axial load. We have to find out how does a uniform rod gets compressed or get elongated, and the amount of elongation due to a force applied to it. So this is what we will do it today, and that is, so next, okay. So let us say in general you have a general rod of some cross section, and this is subjected to some kind of, you have P1 here, P2 here, please. So some number of forces, this rod which is of non-uniform cross section, it is subjected to some axial loads, and we would like to find out what is the, let me take a small, because I have to take some P1 P2 such that this distance is delta x. So if originally this was delta x when the loads were not there, see whenever we say anything delta x or length, that length is when there was no load applied to the structure. After the loads are applied, the length will change, the distances between points will change, so that you must keep in mind. Although in the diagram we always draw, with the load also, and then we say okay, let us take this delta x, but realize always that any distance that was there, that was the original undeformed length. So delta x is the undeformed length between P1 and P2, this point. So Now what will happen? Under the load, P1 will move to P1 dash. I cannot draw so many points, so let us say it is P1 dash, and P2 will move to P2 dash. Is it okay? P1 will move to P1 dash and P2 will move when the loads are applied. And let us say P1 moves by a small distance. Now any point displacement, normally the convention is the displacement of a point in a body, in a solid, is denoted by of any point having coordinates x, y, z. Here it is only any point in axial rod can be described by how many coordinates? Location of any point in axial rod can be described by, because if it is axial, it is one dimensional. Although cross section is there is cross section is there, but then all the points in the cross sections are in the same plane, normal plane, and distance from any origin will be same of all the points. So you need only one coordinate to describe a point in a, and such problems are called what? One dimensional. We are dealing with 1D problem. So this problem is one dimensional. So it is a simple problem. It is not a 3-dimensional problem. In short, we also write it 1D. This is the acronym 1D. 1D means one dimensional problem. That means points can be described by a simple coordinate x. So this point will move, this point whose coordinate was, let us say, x. P1 had coordinate, P1 is a function of P2. What was the coordinate of x plus delta x? P2 was originally, how many people understand this? P2 was x plus delta x, because the length from here to here is dx. So that coordinate becomes x plus delta x, original. Now P1 dash, the coordinate will be, P1 dash, what will be the coordinate? Yes, it has moved. How much? Because all the points have compressed or elongated, I mean there is some movement of points. So what will be the distance? Let us call this that P1 has moved by a displacement u. We normally express displacement along coordinate axis as UVW. So if you have a 3-coordinate system, I am just giving you, later on, again do not ask me why it is like this. So along this any displacement we call it U, along this V, along this small w, all are small. So any point is there, it can move in x, y, z direction. Here we are referring to only one because it is a one-dimensional problem. So U, it has moved. How much this has moved now? Point. Come on. How much this one P2 dash? P2 dash. What will be the coordinate of that? X plus delta x anyway was there originally, and now what will be this? P2 dash. P2 dash coordinate will be what? Come on. See, there would be some relative displacement between, otherwise if you take rigid body motion then it will be just this plus u. If you take rigid body motion, that means as if the whole delta x has moved by u, then it will be this plus u. That will give rigid body motion. But it is not a rigid body motion, there will be some compression or elongation. So let us call that as delta del u. Is it okay? Everything is positive, we are taking positive in positive coordinate direction x. I am measuring x along this from origin. Everything is positive. Okay, everything is taken in the positive. So this is okay. So what is the strain? How do you define strain? Longitudinal strain, which we have already defined, change in length divided by original length, axial strain. So delta x is the axial. See, pay attention. These are very simple things, but these are very fundamental. Later on, nobody will explain to you with such clarity. Axial strain or longitudinal strain. Is it okay? Epsilon x. So that is a change in length of delta x, change in length of delta x. Achha, by the way, where are we finding out this epsilon x? At point P. P1. It is, strain is defined at a point. So P1 and P2 are very close. Okay. So this is strain defined at point P. We are defining strain. So this is change in length of delta x divided by original length. Original length there is no problem, yes, that is delta x. What is change in length? What is change in length? Yes, quickly. Change in length is how much? Change in length of delta x? Delta u. Yes, you can change. You can this minus what? By the original. I mean this is P2 dash, then coordinate of P1 dash is how much? This. So this minus this is the final length. P1 dash, P2 dash length minus P1, P2 and minus P1, P2 is delta x. So it will come out to be delta u. Change in length is delta u. So epsilon x is this. Take limit of this, because we are finding out strain epsilon x at P1. So limit of this expression, even if it is not given in the book, we always say, so this is how derivative is defined. Derivative, what is the derivative? In the limit. So this is given by du by dx. So epsilon x, so now in simple, now this need not be remembered, this so we have got a simple slide 3. So at any point strain, now we have got a expression is equal to du by rate of change of u with respect to x. Is it okay? Still I don't find du by dx strain. Okay. So one simple expression that, so this is deformation. So as I told you in the beginning, in the first class only I told you that there are 3 basic principles of mechanics of solids. Equilibrium of forces, forces must be in a state of equilibrium, body must be in a state of equilibrium, and all the forces acting on it must be, so body or any part of the body, not necessarily the total body, any part of the body must be in a state of equilibrium. So you write down condition of equilibrium. Second, you must consider deformation. Body deforms under the action of forces. So deformation. So this is the deformation relation. Strain displacement relation. This is called strain displacement relation. And this takes into account deformation of the body. What is difference between deformation and displacement? Anybody? Quickly, I must have told you. Yes. What is difference between deformation, the word deformation and displacement? What do you, when loads are applied to any body, what happens? What deforms? Body deforms. What is the meaning of deformation? Change, body changes in its shape. There is change in shape of the body. Somewhere there is bulging, somewhere there is compression, somewhere. So you have change in the shape. This phenomena, this thing is called deformation. Body has deformed. But if you consider a point in the body and measure the movement of that point, where that point has moved from P to it has gone to Q, or from P1 to P1 dash it has gone. So this is called displacement of point P. So displacement is always of a point in a particular direction, So I will say deformation in a particular direction is displacement of a point. So whenever you say displace, first of all it has to be point. What has displaced? Body has not displaced, body has deformed. So if somebody says body has displaced, no, body has deformed. Some points in the body have got displaced. So deformation in a particular direction is called displacement, and displacements are always of points. So okay, so this one we have got. Now if I take the same element delta x and show the forces, so this is delta x. So when there is no load, of course there won't be any force. Nothing will be there on this side and this side. If you cut it, no force. When you apply the force, then it has moved, it has deformed, some changes, and there will be some force here. Let us call it at distance. This point was P1 was x, and this point P2 was x plus delta x. So, and they are separated by a distance delta x. So I can say here this was some force Px, and here it will be some increment. I think the concept of increment I have already given in the case of stresses, from phase to phase, x phase, negative phase to positive phase. When you go, there is a change in the value of stress. So same thing in the change in the value of forces. What is force after all? Area multiplied by the stress. So there will be some change, and this is there. So this will be, so this under this one, the shape of this under the action of force, this delta x will look something like. So always remember, whenever we draw any free body diagram, it is always drawn as if it is in undeformed state, because displacements are so small, we are used to, but actually it is always in the deformed state, because otherwise force will not be there. Why should force be there when there is no deformation? Why should stress be there when there is no deformation? So body has deformed, there is some. And so what is this? So just now from this formula, yes, there is a change in this du. So change in length du is epsilon x times dx. From here I have just taken here. This has changed, and a change in length of the element is given by strain times dx. And therefore, if I want, now my whole body was like this. If I want change from point A to point B, so then I will have to integrate this from A to B du, and that I will call integrate du, the total displacement or displacement between these 2 points will be integral, and that we might denote it by some delta or something. and that has to be integral epsilon x dx. Integration. So if you take a larger, only thing is in between there should not be additional forces. This should be, no other force should act here, otherwise integration will not hold good. So then this is equal to, what is strain? Strain is given by Now what is the third law? So we have made use of equilibrium. First one is equilibrium, then force displacement or strain displacement. What is the other thing that we have? We have also now studied how does the material behave, the relationship between stress and strain. If there is a stress, there is a strain, then there is some relation. So now we are restricting ourselves to linear zone only. Let it is stress be proportional to, directly proportional to strain. So then this one will be equal to sigma x by E times dx A to B. This one can be, what is the stress over here? You have to find out what is the stress over here. By the way, how do you find out stress? Force divided by area. At this point, what is the stress? Px is acting here at point P, P1 we have taken. So it will be force divided by, so this one will be, let us say Px divided by, let us say the area of cross section of that over here is Ax. So this into E into dx. E we have taken constant for the entire rod. Between A and B it is constant, but it is not necessary that it be constant. Supposing from B to C there is another rod of different material, it can be taken summation again different material. So it is possible to have this also changing. But then this is the formula. So we have got one general formula for finding out displacement. Why there is? Because it is a finite distance. This point P2 is from P, it is P1 and P2 is separated by a distance dx. So there is a small distance which is measurable. This concept I gave you in terms of stresses. The sigma x from left, when you go to x plus delta x, it will be sigma x plus derivative of sigma x with respect to x plus delta. So there has to be some change here, or you can write it px plus derivative of px with respect to x into dx. This is also equal to this. So we have got a general formula now under axial load, that for axial loads, so delta between A and B, you integral what is force there dx by Ax, and I will also write okay, let there be E, doesn't matter. I can say Ex, but it's okay. This is a general formula. Now if, let us say the rod is uniform, I have a rod of length L and it is subjected to a tensile force P. I want to find out what is this change in length of this rod. So uniform cross section. What is this? What is this? Change in length. So here it will be, it is subjected to P. Area of cross section of this rod is A, modulus of velocity is E, So this point is A, this point is B. So as per this formula, delta will be equal to integral A to B. P will be at any cross section. If you take free body diagram of this rod, if this is acting, what will be the force here at a distance x? Equilibrium requires that at any cross section the force will be only P. Is it okay? Equilibrium requires, you are making use of equilibrium. So there are three laws. First is equilibrium. Second, yes my dear friend, with the specs. Okay, so this one, so P at any cross section you have a constant force now P. So Px is P, area of cross section is A, which is again constant, modulus of velocity E, which is again constant. If you integrate this, A to B is 0 to L, this length is 0, so you have to do this P dx AI, everything is constant. P by A can be taken out of the integral sign, then you have got dx 0 to L, and you get a simple formula that delta equal to PL by AE. So if you have a simple rod of some cross section, uniform rod of a cross section, if you apply a tensile force or a compressive force, the displacement that it will undergo will be PL by AE. So this is a formula that you should remember by heart. This is not that you have to derive every time. General, if any rod is there of length L of uniform cross section, then it is PL by AE. Okay. Otherwise, of course, you have to do integration, etc. But then a constant one is delta equal to PL by AE. Then, so now let us take two rods which are joined together, but uniform cross section, both are having, and their lengths are L1, this one is L1, modulus of velocity is E1, cross sectional area is A1. It is possible? Yes, one rod of length L1, modulus of velocity, so it is not necessary that it must be, and then the second rod which is of length L2, this length is L2, modulus of velocity is E2, area of cross section is A2, and they are joined together here. How do you join two rods? Let us say metal by welding. Yes, you have welded them, and then this is your axis, centroidal axis, and yes, this is there. It is free. Free means there is no stress. There is no stress. Now you see, if any body is free and it can be moved anywhere in the space. So a rod is there along x axis, it can be moved like this. So you must fix its position. Then only you can apply load. Otherwise, if you apply a load, this will have motion. Just like, Newton's second law. If you apply a force here, then it will start having motion. We don't want motion, so it must be constrained. We must fix it, at least one point of this, because now we are dealing only with one dimensional problem. That means movement is restricted only in x direction. All this we are talking along x. This is x. So it must be constrained. So we have fixed, let us say, end A of this rod, and then we have applied forces at various points. Forces can be of two types. Mechanical, this is called, by the way, this is called mechanical force. You are applying by What? By putting weights, by pulling, you have to have some arrangement. So it is called mechanical loads. So let us say that you have applied, this point is B. At B you have applied a force P1. At this point is C. At C you have applied a force P2. Yes. Of course, there are, you can apply load anywhere, but I am restricting myself to two concentrated forces which are applied at B and C. So what will happen to the rod? Now this will be under stress now. Now it will be under stress. Why it will be under stress? Because we have constrained this end A. Now this end cannot move. Now you are applying, so this can, yes. See, that is how we are able to open this. You are applying a force. So yes, this is under stress. So then, so first of all, any body must be constrained. This is called boundary condition. You must provide boundary condition to the body. Without boundary condition, you cannot have a structure. The structure or body cannot take load, because the moment you put load, it will start moving. No, you don't want that. So first fix it, put, it is called, mathematically it is called provide boundary condition. Boundary or fix it. Boundary condition is equivalent to fix it, so that there is no motion in that direction. Constrain it, some people will call it constrain it. So there are number of ways in which this can be described. Now you take free body diagram between AB. Free body diagram between AB. By the way, this body, or let us say total free body diagram. First, we always are used to draw the free body diagram of ABC. So what will you do? ABC means you must know clearly how to draw free body diagram. Isolate the body from its surrounding. What is a free body diagram? Isolate the body from its surrounding. What is the surrounding? This boundary condition that we have provided. You cut it, isolate. So applied force is P2 here, P1 here. At this we have cut it. So there must be a force that must exist there, a reaction. There must be a force in order to keep this in equilibrium. So I do not know, I will put, okay, let there be everything positive in positive direction. I don't want to put it the right direction. So let there be a reaction R. Some force is there along, yes, there will be some. Direction may not be right, that is possible. What will be then the force on the support? Free body diagram of the support. If it is like this, then it should be like this. So this is the free body diagram. So always somebody, if people are in habit of just cutting the body anywhere you like, it has to be cut very close to the support. Total free body diagram means cut it very close to the support. Then this is the free body diagram of the support. That means this much force is going to the support, to the wall, or whoever is holding it. You have to stand, and then you have to, somebody is pulling a rod. So you have to stand there, and then so this force is going to you. This is going in my body if I am holding. And then this is the free body diagram of the rod, total body. So this is the FBD. There is of total rod. And then we have a condition that, yes, equilibrium condition. And what is that? Sum of forces in x direction must be 0. So R plus P1 plus P2 should be 0, and therefore now this is only one unknown. We can solve one unknown with one equation of equilibrium. So R is equal to minus P1 plus, see what is this minus sign shows? That whatever R you have assumed, actual R is opposite. So actually, but then I repeat the same thing number of times perhaps. So R is equal to the value of R with a negative sign. So it has to be, sign has to be changed and its value is P1. So your answer should be like this. You should show it clearly. Now this is in a state of equilibrium. This body, now if you show it like this, then this is the correct diagram. This is in a state of sum of forces is 0 here. It has come. So anyway, so this is for the total body. Okay. So this is the free body diagram. Anyway, quickly you tell me what is the force at any cross section here. If I cut this over, P1 plus P2 tensile. What? P1 plus P2. What is the force at Y? And Y can be anything between B and C, and this XX section can be anywhere between A and B. So here at any cross section you have P1 plus P2, and here you have only P2. So that means this much portion is subjected to P2 tensile, while this one is subjected to P1 plus P2 tensile force. Is it clear? Then can you find out what will be the displacement of this? Now you know that PL by A is the formula for a uniform. So this modulus of velocity, everything is uniform. So it will be P1 plus P2 into A1 divided by P into L1 divided by A1 E1 is this delta 1 plus delta 2 of this will be same thing. You know, P2 divided by into L2 divided by E2 into A2, and sum the two, that will be the total displacement. So the problems will be very simple, but then you have to understand. Okay. 7. Yes, attendance.